Messieurs and Mademoiselles, it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you tonight. And now, we invite you to relax. Let's pull up a chair as the elementary proudly presents some learning. Be our guest, be our guest. Put our service to the test. Take your child by the hand, Sherry, and we'll provide the rest. Reading phonics fluency, improve skills we guarantee. Try the new stuff, it's stupendous. Don't believe me, ask the students. They can sing, they'll have fun. Reading skills are number one, and the learning here is never second best. Go on, unfold your mind. Take a glance and find you'll be our guest. We are guest, be our guest. Reading cubes, learning play, dice and letters, hip hooray. We'll prepare and learn with flair, a learning cabaret. You're on board and you've shared, but the meeting's all prepared. No one's gloomy or complaining while the teacher's entertaining. We tell jokes, I do tricks with my future reading tips. And it's all in perfect taste that you can bet. Reading is a gas, you've won your own free pass to be our guest. If you're stressed, it's shared reading we suggest. Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest. Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest, please be our guest.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Inkra and I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Northridge Local Schools. Together with Milton-Union and Bradford Schools, we are so thankful you are spending time with us tonight for this virtual literacy event. Before I hand it over to Rush Rogers, we have just a few housekeeping items. Your cameras are turned off and your microphones are muted. This is being recorded and will be posted to each district's website and/or social media for future viewing. We will have a 5-minute Q&A session with Rush at the end after she shares her activities. Down at the bottom, you can type your questions in the Q&A chat box. Tonight is focusing on the comprehension dice, which is going to be a really fun activity for everybody. There will be a short survey after the session ends. Please take a couple minutes to complete that so we can use your feedback as we plan out future literacy events. All right, Rush, it's all yours.
Well, I'm thrilled, and you are my guest in my kitchen again this week. So I'm glad to have you back. And I'm really looking forward to revisiting a couple of the things we talked about last time so we can continue with them and to share this game, which I think is great fun. And I think you will enjoy, and maybe seeing it through will make you a little bit more comfortable trying it. So I'm glad you're here. First, read alouds. I want you to continue to read aloud. And this week, when we read, we're looking for two things. First, we're looking for words that grab us, words that make us curious, words that are used in a new and different way. So I would like to have you a challenge that you capture the words that you want to share, and you are welcome to find my email and send me the most exciting, interesting word you find this week. I found words like sober, stout, mortar, responsible, distractible, dramatic. Some of them I found a little harder than others to define, not so much to use them in a sentence, but to define. So in your bag where you're putting your exciting words, remember you want the word, and then you want to use it in a sentence on the back. And you can put these in your backpack so you can collect them when you read your book on the bus. You can put them in a pocket in the car. You're all set. So the challenge is find the most interesting word, most exciting word, most curious word that you find in your reading or in your read alouds this week, okay? The second thing is when you're sitting there listening to the read aloud, think about the characters. So we can begin to talk about what we understand about that character, how that character might behave, how they might have gotten into that problem. We're looking at characters this week, okay? So you have the vocabulary challenge. The second thing is, last week we did pre, and we figured out all the words we could use for pre, like preview, pre-date, pre-game, pre-season. If you play softball or baseball, you're pre-season now. It hasn't exactly started. This week, we're going to do un. And you might use unusual or unstable. The weather is unstable, unconscious. And so I'm looking for, the challenge is to send me the most original unword you can find. So you're putting together all the, remember we had the un card, and on the back of it, we put all the words that we could think of or brainstorm using the prefix un, and you tell me the most unusual word you find, okay? Now, the game. I'm going to show you how you could do this dice game even if you're not in the same room. So if you want to play with your family and grandma, or your family and your buddy, this is how this would go. But you have to agree on the book. So you'd have the same version so you can answer the questions together. So Mick, will you show us how we might read the book? Perfectly furious. Now by the hair of his chinny chin chin, he roared, "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." So the big bad wolf huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, but he could not blow down the little house of bricks. How can he get in? At last he thought of the chimney. So up he climbed quietly. Then with a snarl, down he jumped, right into a kettle of boiling water. With a yelp of pain, he sprang straight up the chimney again and raced away from the little house as fast as he could go. Okay, so you're reading it aloud, you're giving the feeling, you're giving the challenge, you're just reading it through. You're not interpreting. While you read, you read. You do not ask the questions in the middle of the reading for this game, okay? So I have taken 2 of the dice you have. I took the one that has, what does the title tell you? Who is the author? Who is the illustrator? I took that cube. And I took another cube, which is, where does the story take place? Who are the main characters? Identify and predict. These 2 dice, okay? And I rolled them. Now, if you were playing at home, you could let the kids roll them, okay? But I'm not with this family, so I had to roll them and tell them what they were. But we're rolling the dice for us to have points of view. The more people at the table, the more complete the answers. These cubes don't have right answers. They have how you interpreted that book. So you roll a dice, you go round robin, and one kid, then one kid, then one person answers, or you let them volunteer, whatever makes it comfortable. The thing I want you to understand about this video is when it's posted on your website, it will be from beginning to end, and I have gone round and round and round on it, okay? So you can see how people get more comfortable with this game as we roll, okay? So I'm going to run it again. I'm going to run the game. You ready, Mick? Is that a yes or no? Oh. Okay. Thank you. Okay, sounds good. You ready? Identify and predict how a problem can be solved. How can a problem be solved?
By thinking through it.
And that would be what? What would you have to think about in this problem of building your house?
When you are building your house, you have to think of what would happen if like a windstorm came, or if like the wolf came. Like, you got to think about what would happen, like the third pig did.
Also, I think you work together. So in the end, all three pigs were in the same house working together to overcome the scary wolf.
Okay. What background do you bring to this story? What background do you have about building houses or wolves or? Okay.
Was that enough?
That's enough. That'll be fine. Thanks. So you understand that you asked the question. They should relate it to the story you've read. If they don't, you can guide them. Like, how would you solve this problem? They say, how do you solve problems? You say, this problem with the house, this problem with the wolf, this problem. How do you problem solve? And you're going to get divergent ideas, like you have to plan ahead, or you need to put your heads together and work cooperatively, or you have to think about the weather, or whatever. You're going to get different ideas. And that's why the more people at the table, the better off you are in this particular game. But I have added, last week, in my mind, I did one cube. This week I did another. So I don't think you want all 6 of your cubes in play when you play this game when they're first learning it. I would take 2 cubes or maybe 4 cubes and play. Okay, so you don't need to use all the cubes you got, 2, 4, okay? So that's the read aloud. You read in a voice that animal or that pig might use. You're always looking to have all you know about the character be reflected in how you say the words that are on the page. And you want to read with some fluency, so we interrupt the habit of reading one word. We want to read a sentence. We want to read a piece of meaning, okay? So I'm going to make one more shift, and I'm going to set you up for next week. So I take this card out of my pack, and I look at this card and I say, what do I see? And I write down all the things I see. For instance, an umbrella, or arms, or swimsuits, or sun hats, or swim trunks, or people tanning, or maybe a beach ball, or the lady reading a book. I see a book, I see her reading. All the words I can, and I write them down. You want to practice looking at the picture, and you want to practice writing the words, because this game is going to ask you to do some things with the first letter in the word that you offer up and the last letter. Okay, so it's very important, not just that you look in here deep and see how many things can I see in this picture, but that somebody writes those words down. So you can identify the first letter and the last letter of every word you pick. Here's another one. Okay. I didn't know the names of a lot of these flowers, so I wasn't really good at this one. Scarecrow, maybe.
Hey, Rush.
Yes.
I just want to give you a 1-minute warning. We're about to 7:15.
Okay, so one word for each one of these. So what I want you to do is take 5 cards each, and do this. 5 cards. So if mom's playing, she has 5 cards. Dad's playing, he's got 5 cards. And each of you gets all the words you can. Even if you get them out together, everybody needs 5 cards for us to play this game next time, okay? 5 cards, everything you can see in that picture, okay? Is that so? We are reading aloud. We're grabbing words that excite us. We're building words, And we're going to use those words to manipulate the beginning sound and last sound. Thank you very much. I'm ready for questions.
So we don't have any questions right now in the Q&A. So while people are kind of thinking, I do have a question for you. So going back to the comprehension dice, do you suggest reviewing the questions on the dice before you start reading the story together?
If I'm not, the answer to that is yes, no. If I'm not playing the game, I'm just setting up a read aloud. I would read a question off of one of the cubes and say, this is the purpose for this read. We're going to read to talk about the main characters and all we can figure out about the main characters, which I think fits this week. And then you might say the next time we're going to listen to the story and we're going to say, what can I connect with? What experiences do I have that are in this story? So that is called setting up a story. It is setting the purpose for the reading. So you will see in my PowerPoint where I suggest everybody go back to the parent guide and look at all of these pieces and revisit them. But you would roll a dice before you read aloud. In this game, I did not, because I was going all over the board in terms of my question. I wanted them to think about this story. So we agreed to the story. It wasn't new. I did the Three Little Pigs. It wasn't new. We agreed to the facts of the story, and then we could think our way through the story. So in the game, no. In a read aloud, yes.
Thank you, Rush. There is a question that asks, are there any online resources for books?
I did, as a matter of fact, I did give you a list last week on the websites that said books that would be appropriate for third grade, books that would be appropriate for fourth, and books that would be important for fifth. I think you can use any book to play this game. For instance, I just got done with my grandson and we did the pout fish. And there's a lot about, you could talk about the pout fish. If you're doing a book together, a chapter book together, and you're doing a read around or a read aloud, then I would just use what you have. But I think you can pick any book so that if you have younger children and you have this third, fourth, or fifth grader, you can use the younger child's book because you're going to make them think about it. You're going to, what would that person look like? How would they say that really? Why do you think they did that type of question? So I gave you lists of what are considered the best read alouds for each grade level. And I
Yep.
I
Go ahead,
think
Rush.
that your librarian in your school, your teacher, the librarian, your public library, they're going to be able to give you really good read aloud books.
Perfect. And every, like Rush suggested, every district has that list of books that she's referencing on their websites. So take a look there. One last question. Where do I put the words that we see in the pictures? I think just on a separate sheet of paper, right, Rush?
You can use it. We were talking about that index card, a straight piece of paper, the back of junk mail. Just write them down because you're going to need the words and you're going to have to be able to look at them so you can see the first sound and the last sound. So write it on anything you want. But I put a paper clip behind the one I'm describing so that when I go to use it, I know which one I generated the words for.
All right, that is the last question that I see in the Q&A down at the bottom. I'm very intrigued, Rush, about next week's game. So I can't wait to see what we have to do. So thank you so much, Rush. That wraps up this event tonight. Just a reminder, if you play the games at home, take a picture and send them to your child's teacher or your building's principal, and your picture will be added to the intro video. So you'll be famous.
Your list of words as well. You can take a picture of all the words you list for un. You can take a picture of the words you generate that you create of exciting and different words and send them to me or your teacher or your principal. Capture them because The idea is that we are curious when we read, and that we're curious about words that are used a little bit differently, and that we collect them and then we own them, okay? It's not like somebody ought to hand you some words that you should flash. It's they come up and you're curious about them and you follow up. So send those pictures to me or to your teacher or the principal. We really want to see what you're doing.
Yep. All right. Thanks so much, thank you,
If you're
Rush, and
looking
thanks
for
again,
Rush's
everybody,
email.
for joining us. Have a great evening.